Hey Food Slayers, it's Michelle here from foodslaying.com, and in today's video I want to talk about the food supply chain. That's what Food Slaying is all about. We're talking about ingredients, we're talking about the food supply chain, and in this week's episode we're talking to an innovative company that is trying to reimagine and innovate in the food supply chain. And I'm going to tell you who they are in a second. But first I wanted to just explain for those of you that don't know what the food supply chain does or who the players are in the food supply chain are. I just kind of want to go through that. So the first step in the food supply chain is, of course, the farmer, the grower, the person who's growing the input, the vegetable, raising the meat, growing the plant or whatever. And that's the first step in the food supply chain. The second person in the food supply chain is the processor. And that's the person that comes to pick up that finished vegetable, corn, grain, or animal and processes it into an ingredient, basically. Then there's the manufacturer. The manufacturer is the step where they take that processed good, right, and they make it into another ingredient or several ingredients. So they'll say take, corn that comes from the grower, they'll take it to the processor and husk it and take it off the cob, and then the manufacturer will say put it into a packaged good or use it as an ingredient in a packaged good that then goes to a regulator, which is usually the government, either local or at the federal level like the USDA, for approvals and packaging approvals and things like that. And then there's the shipper or distributor, which is the people that take it from the manufacturer and the regulator to the grocery, which is the next step, right? So it's after it goes through the shipper distributor, all the trucking lines and all that, then it's delivered to the retail location, which is your local grocery store. And then it comes to you. It comes to us, right? The customer. And so those are the 7 steps of the food supply chain. And typically, or I should say not typically, but what we're seeing in the most recent events with the COVID-19 food supply chain breakdown is we're seeing a lot of links in that chain failing, right? We saw the farmers taking the hit for the things that they were growing, the animals, the eggs, the milk, the vegetables getting tilled in. We saw the processors shut down. We saw, Smithfield Farms and Tyson shut down because of COVID-19. Sorry for the plane that's going overhead right now. We saw shippers and distributors kind of take a hit because their drivers weren't able to drive due to the lockdown. And then we saw retailers, we saw empty shelves, right? We saw food shortages on the grocery store shelves. So almost every chain in that link was either bent or broken. And so the people that I'm talking to this week on the podcast, they're called SIMPLi Good. And Matt and Sarela, I've interviewed them to talk about their company because they are all about ethical food sourcing for creating a better world. They are really interesting, and I hope that you listen to the episode this week because they had some really great things to say about how they treat their farmers, how they source their goods, where they're sourcing them from. And they're also talking about accountability, which is something that we would like to see more of. I think, let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more accountability from your food supply chain. I know that I do, and I hope that you do too. And that's really it for this episode. I hope that you check it out. Go over to foodslaying.com and sign up for the podcast newsletter so that you get exclusive updates for when I'm releasing episodes or when I'm making videos like this. You can subscribe to the channel and click the notifications bell. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Do you want more accountability in your food supply chain? I think I know the answer to that, but tell me in the comments below. And I think that's it. Also, that's what I want to talk about. So we're in season 2, and I really want to know some ingredients that you want to hear about. So if you'd really like to participate in the survey, head over to foodslain.com, take the survey, it's just 5 questions, and let me know some ingredients that you want to hear about this season or next season, or let me know who you want me to interview. I've been interviewing some really, really interesting people. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that we're continuing the conversation about genetically modified corn, genetics, and our bodies, and our how the genetics of GMO foods really alters our hormones in our body and our genetics. So that's really interesting, and I did that with Tanai, the science guy, who's a PhD in chemical biology. So I look forward to seeing you next week when I make the video talking about what the next episode is. But until then, remember to eat clean, eat healthy, and love your food. And of course, head over to foodslain.com, take the survey, sign up for the newsletter. Let's keep the conversation going. And I'll see you on the other side of the plate. Ciao.